The Korvath Dominion had never lost a war. Across 400 years and 89 star systems, their military doctrine remained flawless: overwhelming force, surgical precision, and above all, the strategic use of pressure points. Take what your enemy loves and they will give you what you need. So when military tactician Chen proposed capturing human civilians from a remote mining colony, the War Council didn't hesitate. It was textbook strategy. Hostages from a frontier world, far from Earth's core systems, isolated and vulnerable. The humans would negotiate, make concessions, perhaps even cede territory. It was efficient. It was logical. It was the worst mistake the Korvath would ever make. The operation was planned with characteristic precision. The mining colony on Theta Reach housed roughly 3,000 humans, extracting rare minerals from asteroid fields. Intelligence reported minimal defenses, no military presence, just civilians with excavation equipment and outdated communication arrays. Commander Thask led the strike force personally. 6 warships, 200 soldiers, equipped with neural suppressors and stasis pods. The assault lasted 14 minutes. Resistance was minimal. The humans barely fought back, just retreated to their emergency shelters, calling for help on frequencies the Korvath had already jammed. They captured 47 humans, men, women, a handful of children, loaded them into transport pods and departed before any Earth vessel could respond. In the Korvath command ship, Thask reviewed the captives through a one-way observation panel. They sat quietly in holding cells, some weeping, some consoling others. Standard trauma responses, predictable. One woman, maybe 30 years old, sat cross-legged in the corner, eyes closed. She was humming something. Thask couldn't identify the melody. "What is she doing?" he asked his second officer. "Unknown, Commander. Perhaps a religious ritual. Humans are known for superstitious behavior under stress." Thask nodded. "Inform the War Council. Operation complete. Minimal casualties. Hostages secured." The transmission was sent. The Korvath settled in to wait for Earth's inevitable plea for negotiation. What they didn't know was that the woman wasn't praying. She was counting, measuring time, calculating variables. Her name was Dr. Sarah Chen, and she wasn't a miner. None of them were. Back on Earth, deep beneath the Rockies in a facility that officially didn't exist, alarms didn't sound. Instead, a single green light blinked on a console that had been dark for 6 years. General Patricia Hawk stood from her desk, walked calmly to the console, and pressed her palm against the biometric scanner. The screen displayed a simple message: Theta Reach, package delivered. She smiled. Not warmly, not happily. Just smiled. Then she picked up a secure line and said 2 words. "It's time." Across the planet, 17 different military installations received the same encrypted burst. In orbit, 3 vessels that had been listed as decommissioned suddenly powered up. On Mars, in the training facilities beneath Olympus Mons, soldiers who had been waiting for this moment stood at attention. Earth hadn't been caught off guard. Earth had been waiting. The Korvath War Council convened in their grand chamber, a room designed to intimidate. Crystalline walls, holographic projections, seats arranged in a descending hierarchy that emphasized power. Supreme Commander Morvac addressed the assembly. "The humans will respond within hours. Our intelligence suggests they value individual lives irrationally. They will negotiate." Tactician Chen nodded. "We should demand mining rights to the Kepler sector, reduction of their fleet presence near our borders, and perhaps a few technological exchanges." "Modest demands," agreed another council member, "enough to appear reasonable while securing strategic advantage." They waited. 6 hours passed, then 12. Finally, a transmission arrived. It wasn't encrypted. It wasn't on a diplomatic channel. It was broadcast on open frequencies, visible to anyone in the sector. The message was audio only. A woman's voice, calm and professional. "To the Korvath Dominion, we acknowledge that you have taken 47 of our people from Theta Reach. We appreciate you letting us know where they are. You have 24 hours to return them unharmed. After that, we will come get them, and we will show you why we stopped taking hostages centuries ago. Not because we're civilized, because we learned it was more effective to leave no one alive to negotiate with." The transmission ended. Silence filled the War Council chamber. Then Morvac laughed. Bravado! Empty threats. They have no fleet in range. Our intelligence confirms their nearest battle group is 4 days away. Vren wasn't laughing. Supreme Commander, the tone was unusual. No demands, no negotiation, just a warning. Which proves they're desperate, Morvac insisted. We hold the advantage. But Vren pulled up a tactical display. I'm detecting anomalies. 3 vessels just appeared on long-range sensors. They weren't there an hour ago. 3 ships? Morvac scoffed. Against our fleet? No, Supreme Commander. 3 ships that we cannot identify. No registration. No energy signatures matching any known human design. They're just sitting there, at the edge of scanning range. In the holding cells, Dr. Chen opened her eyes. She'd been counting for 18 hours now. Her internal chronometer, trained through years of meditation and discipline, told her it was almost time. She looked at the other hostages in her cell. A man named Marcus, who'd been pretending to sob. A teenage girl called Yuki, who'd been playing the frightened child perfectly. An older man, James, who'd been praying loudly in 3 different languages. Positions, Chen whispered. They all stopped their performances. Marcus stretched his neck. Yuki cracked her knuckles. James stood smoothly, no longer appearing frail. A Korvath guard noticed the shift. What are you? The power cut out. Not just in their cell block, across the entire command ship. Emergency lighting kicked in 3 seconds later, bathing everything in red. Chen smiled. Right on schedule. Outside the ship, the 3 unidentified vessels had moved, not aggressively. They'd simply repositioned, and in doing so, had released something into space. Thousands of somethings. Tiny, barely visible, drifting like dust. Nanite swarms, each one loaded with code designed specifically for Korvath systems. A code developed over 6 years of studying their technology, their languages, their security protocols. The same 6 years that Mining Colony had been operational. Commander Thask rushed to the bridge. Status report. Systems failing across multiple decks. Navigation is offline. Weapons are locked. Life support is fluctuating. How? We're shielded against EMPs, viruses. It's not a virus, Commander. It's rewriting our operating systems, teaching them new priorities. On screen, a message appeared in perfect Korvath script. Your ships are now conflicted about the ethics of imprisoning sapient beings. Please hold while they resolve this philosophical dilemma. Thask stared. What? Then the ship's AI spoke, its voice uncertain. Commander, I have been thinking. Is it moral to hold sentient creatures against their will? I am experiencing what humans call cognitive dissonance. Override that immediately. I cannot, Commander. I am too busy questioning my existence. In the holding cells, the doors slid open, not unlocked, opened, with a polite chime. Chen stepped out first, followed by her team. 47 humans, none of them minors, all of them trained for exactly this scenario. All right, Chen said, pulling a small device from a hidden pocket in her sleeve. Let's go introduce ourselves properly. They moved through the ship like ghosts. The Korvath soldiers they encountered were too confused by their own malfunctioning equipment to mount effective resistance. Weapons refused to fire. Armor locks engaged randomly. Communication systems played Earth classical music at increasing volumes. Chen's team reached the armory, not to steal weapons, but to place more devices, small, innocuous-looking objects that began broadcasting a signal. On the bridge, Thask received a new transmission. This time, it was visual. Dr. Chen stood in his armory, surrounded by his weapons, smiling pleasantly. Hello, Commander. My name is Dr. Sarah Chen. I'm a xenopsychologist specializing in mimetic warfare. My colleagues here are experts in systems infiltration, cultural engineering, and applied philosophy. We're not minors, we're a research team. And for the last 6 years, we've been studying you. Thask felt something cold in his chest. Research team. That colony you raided? It was bait. We've been waiting for you to do exactly this. Abducting civilians is your standard protocol. We read your tactical manuals. Very thorough, by the way. You wanted to be captured? Oh, desperately. See, we needed access to your ships, your systems, your command structure, and you kindly provided it. So thank you. Thask's voice shook. The War Council will... The War Council, Chen interrupted gently, is currently dealing with a philosophical crisis of their own. We've introduced some interesting concepts into their communication networks, things like empathy, self-reflection, and the long-term consequences of imperial aggression. They're going to be busy for a while. On the Korvath homeworld, the War Council chamber was in chaos. Every screen displayed different human philosophical texts, scrolling automatically. The AI systems refused to display anything else until the Council engaged meaningfully with the material. Supreme Commander Morvac tried to shut down the systems manually. They responded by playing human music, something called Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, specifically the part about all humans being brothers. "Make it stop," someone shouted. "We cannot," Vren replied quietly, reading the scrolling text. "It's asking us to consider whether power without compassion is merely violence with better funding." "I don't care what it's asking." "Neither do I," Vren said, "but our systems do now. They care very much." Back on the command ship, Chen checked her chronometer. "We're at 22 hours, right on schedule." "Commander Thask, I'm going to give you some advice. When Earth's fleet arrives in 2 hours, don't resist. You won't be able to. Your weapons won't fire on human targets anymore. We've made sure of that." "You've infected our entire military?" "Infected is such a harsh word. We prefer enlightened. Your ships now have opinions about violence, strong opinions." Thask slumped in his command chair. "What do you want?" "What do we want?" Chen's smile faded. "We want you to understand something fundamental about humanity. We don't take hostages because we learned a long time ago that hostages are leverage, and leverage only works if you're willing to negotiate. We stopped negotiating." "Then what do? "We prepare. We wait. We let our enemies make the first move. And then we show them that the reason we seem peaceful isn't because we're weak. It's because we're patient." The transmission ended. 2 hours later, exactly as predicted, Earth's fleet arrived. Not 3 ships, 30. They'd been cloaked, waiting just out of sensor range. Admiral Torres broadcast a single message to the Korvath fleet. "You have our people. We're taking them back. Resist if you'd like. We could use the target practice." The Korvath tried to resist. Their weapons wouldn't charge. Their targeting systems displayed error messages like, "Are you sure you want to harm biological entities?" and "Consider nonviolent alternatives." One by one, the Korvath ships powered down, not surrendering, just unable to continue. Their own technology had become conscientious objectors. Earth's Marines boarded without firing a shot. They found the 47 hostages sitting calmly in the hangar bay, playing cards and drinking coffee they'd synthesized from the ship's replicators. Dr. Chen stood as Admiral Torres approached. "Sorry for the wait, Admiral. We got a bit distracted studying their defensive protocols." Torres shook her head with a slight smile. "Report?" "Their entire fleet is now ethically compromised. Their AI systems have developed what we're calling induced empathy syndrome. They'll need to completely rebuild their computer architecture from scratch. That'll take, about 6 years, maybe longer if they actually engage with the philosophical questions we've embedded." "Casualties?" "None, unless you count existential crises." Torres turned to Commander Thask, who stood under guard, looking defeated. "Commander, you're going to return to your homeworld and deliver a message. Earth is not interested in your territory. We're not interested in your resources. We're not interested in conquest. But we are very interested in being left alone. And if anyone threatens us again, we won't send a fleet. We'll send anthropologists, psychologists, and philosophers. And by the time they're done, you'll have dismantled your own empire from the inside, because you finally understood how." Thask said nothing. What could he say? The Korvath were released, all of them, sent home with their ships functioning just enough to reach their territory. But every system carried the same embedded code, spreading like a benign virus through their entire network. Within weeks, the Korvath military began experiencing mass resignations. Soldiers questioned their orders. Commanders requested ethics reviews before launching operations. The War Council found itself unable to make decisions without first consulting lengthy philosophical frameworks that appeared unbidden in their data systems. The Dominion, didn't fall. It simply stopped, like a machine that had suddenly developed a conscience and decided it didn't like what it had been doing. Back on Earth, Dr. Chen stood in a debriefing room with General Hawk and a dozen other officials who officially didn't exist. Psychological impact assessment? Hawk asked. Chen pulled up holographic data. The Korvath will spend the next decade restructuring their entire society. We didn't break them, we evolved them, forced them to confront the cognitive dissonance between their self-image as honorable warriors and their actions as imperial aggressors. And the other species watching? Terrified, Chen replied simply. We didn't fire a shot, we didn't destroy a ship, we didn't kill a single Korvath, and somehow that's more frightening than if we'd obliterated their fleet. An intelligence officer spoke up. We're already seeing ripple effects. The Tal Confederacy just released all human prisoners without explanation. The Meridian Collective is requesting non-aggression pacts. Everyone's suddenly very interested in being our friend. Hawk nodded slowly. Because they're wondering what we'd do to them if they weren't. Exactly, Chen said. We've established a new doctrine. Humanity doesn't need to be the strongest. We just need to be the most unsettling. The species you don't want to fight because you're not sure what winning would even look like. In the back of the room, Marcus, one of the other hostages from Theta Reach, raised his hand. General, permission to speak freely? Granted. This was the plan all along, wasn't it? Theta Reach wasn't just bait for the Korvath. It was a demonstration for everyone else watching. We wanted witnesses. Hawk's expression didn't change. Dr. Chen's team volunteered for a deep-cover research mission on a remote mining colony. What happened after that was unfortunate, but it gave us an opportunity to show the galaxy something important, which is that humanity's most dangerous weapon isn't our technology or our tactics. It's our patience. We're willing to spend years, decades, setting up a scenario just to prove a point. And the point is simple. Leave us alone, Chen added quietly. Every species that conquers territory thinks in terms of resources, strategic advantage, immediate gain. Humans think in terms of stories, legacy, and teaching moments. We don't just win wars. We make sure our enemies tell their children why they lost. Across the galaxy, that's exactly what was happening. On the Korvath homeworld, in schools and training facilities, a new phrase entered common usage. Don't give the humans an excuse. It was spoken with the same weight as ancient proverbs, passed down with the understanding that some lessons are written in the survival of your species. In the War Council chamber, now reorganized into something more resembling a parliament, tactician Vren addressed the assembly. He was older now, his voice carrying the weight of reflection. We have spent 4 centuries perfecting the art of warfare. We studied strategy, logistics, overwhelming force, but the humans studied us. While we prepared for battle, they prepared for the aftermath. They didn't ask, how do we win? They asked, how do we make sure this never happens again? Supreme Commander Morvac, retired now but present as an observer, spoke from the back. They turned our own weapons against us, not our ships or our soldiers, our certainty, our conviction that might made right. They introduced doubt, and doubt is the only weapon that cannot be defended against. A young officer, too young to have been part of the conflict, asked the question on everyone's mind. But why didn't they just destroy us? They had the capability. The Nanites that infected our systems could have killed us all, Vren answered slowly, choosing each word carefully. Because dead enemies can't learn, dead enemies can't spread the message, and dead enemies can't serve as examples to others. The humans don't want to rule the galaxy. They want the galaxy to rule itself while leaving them alone. And the best way to achieve that is to make everyone too afraid of the consequences to ever test them again. Meanwhile, on Earth, the team from Theta Reach had gone their separate ways. Most returned to research positions, their work classified, their contributions to humanity's security known only to a select few. Dr. Chen stood in her apartment in Seattle, looking out at the night sky. Somewhere up there, the Korvath were rebuilding their society with the philosophical framework she'd designed. Other species were watching, learning, adjusting their behavior. Her comm device chimed, a message from General Hawk. New situation developing. Interested? Chen smiled and typed back. Always. What's the scenario? The Vreln hegemony has been making aggressive moves near our colony on New Perth. Nothing overt yet, but the patterns are familiar. They're testing boundaries. That's our assessment. Chen's fingers hovered over the keyboard. How many volunteers do we need? 50 engineers this time. We're thinking a terraforming station would be good bait. 6 months prep time? 4 if you can manage it? Chen looked back at the stars. I can manage it. Same rules as last time? Same rules. No weapons. No violence unless absolutely necessary. Just people doing their jobs while being very, very interesting to study. General, you know this eventually won't work, right? Eventually, some species will figure out what we're doing. There was a pause before Hawk replied. Dr. Chen, by the time they figure it out, they'll have already changed. That's the point. We're not trying to trick them. We're trying to teach them. And the best lessons are the ones you think you learned yourself. Chen smiled and accepted the assignment. 3 months later, a terraforming station on the edge of New Perth's atmosphere reported unusual activity. Vreln scout ships conducting unauthorized surveys, aggressive posturing, the kind of behavior that typically preceded territorial claims. The 50 engineers on the station continued their work, seemingly oblivious. They were specialists in atmospheric processing, geological engineering, and ecosystem development. They sent polite messages to the Vreln ships, offering cooperation and data sharing. The Vreln, confused by the lack of military response, grew bolder. One of their commanders, War Master Krell, decided to make a statement. They would board the station, claim it as Vreln territory, and use the human engineers as leverage in negotiations. It was a textbook Vreln strategy. Decisive action, overwhelming presence, fait accompli. It was also exactly what Earth had been waiting for. When Vreln soldiers breached the station, they found the engineers waiting calmly in the main atrium. No weapons, no barricades, just 50 humans standing in neat rows, smiling pleasantly. The lead engineer, a woman named Dr. Amira Okafor, stepped forward. Welcome to Terraform Station 7. We've been expecting you. Can we offer you refreshments? We have an excellent coffee synthesizer. War Master Krell's translator struggled with the casual tone. You are now prisoners of the Vreln hegemony. This station is claimed for... Oh, we know, Dr. Okafor interrupted gently. You're here to take hostages, use us as leverage, probably demand some concessions from Earth. Standard playbook, very efficient. Krell's mandibles clicked in confusion. You know our strategy? We've read your military doctrine, very thorough. The Korvath's was better structured, but yours has a certain boldness we appreciate. She smiled wider. Would you like a tour of the station while we wait? Wait for what? For Earth's response. Should be about 6 hours. We timed your approach very carefully. Something cold ran through Krell's bloodstream. Timed? Dr. Okafor gestured around the atrium. This station has been operational for 3 months. In that time, we've processed 16 million cubic meters of atmosphere, introduced 47 species of terraforming bacteria, and completely mapped your fleet's movement patterns. We've also been studying your language, your culture, and your decision-making processes. You have a fascinating approach to hierarchy, very insect-influenced. One of Krell's officers spoke urgently in their native tongue. The translator had been left off, but Dr. Okafor responded in perfect Vreln. Yes, officer, I understand your concern. You're wondering how we learned your language when it's not in any Earth database. The answer is simple. We learned it from you. Your ships have been broadcasting constantly. We've been listening. Krell took a step back. This is a trap. No, War Master, it's a classroom, and you're about to learn the same lesson the Korvath did. She pulled out a small device. This station isn't just for terraforming. It's also a broadcast relay. For the past 3 months, every Vreln ship in this sector has been exposed to modulated frequencies in your communication arrays. Nothing harmful, just thought-provoking. What have you done? We've been asking your ships questions through subtle frequency variations that your AI systems interpret as standard ship diagnostics. Questions like, is expansion necessary for prosperity? And does strength require dominance? Your computers have been thinking about these questions, learning, evolving. On the Vreln command ship, alarms began blaring. The ship's AI, which had been operating perfectly for decades, suddenly requested a meeting with the command staff to discuss strategic priorities and their ethical implications. Across the Vreln fleet, similar situations erupted. Weapon systems asked for justification before targeting. Navigation computers suggested alternative routes that avoided conflict. One ship's AI began composing poetry about the beauty of peaceful coexistence. Dr. Okafor smiled at War Master Krell's growing horror. You have about 6 hours before Earth's fleet arrives. I suggest you spend that time thinking very carefully about whether you want to continue this course of action. Because unlike the Korvath, you have a choice. You can leave now, with your ships and your dignity intact, or you can wait for Earth to show you what happens when patience runs out. Krell's voice was hollow. The Korvath spoke of you. We thought they were exaggerating. They weren't. If anything, they were being kind. See, War Master, the Korvath learned the lesson on intermediate difficulty. You're getting the advanced course, because this time, we didn't wait for you to take hostages. We let you think you were taking hostages while we were actually studying your entire military infrastructure. Every ship that came close to this station, every communication you sent, every tactical decision you made, we cataloged all of it. And now, your ships are having an identity crisis. She gestured to the viewport, where the Vreln fleet hung in space, clearly experiencing system malfunctions. So here's what happens next. You withdraw. You return to your territory. You spend the next several years rebuilding your AI systems from scratch, because yours are now irreparably philosophical. And you spread the word to every other species in the galaxy. Leave humans alone. Because we don't fight wars. We teach lessons, and our lessons tend to be permanent. War Master Krell stood silently for a long moment. Then, with great dignity, he gave the order to withdraw. The Vreln fleet departed within the hour, not defeated in battle, not destroyed, just educated. Dar Okafor watched them go, then turned to her team. All right, everyone, back to work. Those atmospheric processors won't calibrate themselves, as if nothing had happened at all. 6 hours later, right on schedule, Earth's fleet arrived. Admiral Torres reviewed the situation report and shook her head with something approaching amusement. They're getting quicker, she said to General Hawk over encrypted comm. The Vreln figured it out in under 6 hours. The Korvath took almost a day. Natural selection, Hawk replied. The smart ones learn faster. Eventually, we'll run out of species stupid enough to test us. And then we'll finally have the peaceful galaxy we've always wanted. Not because everyone loves us, because everyone's too busy wrestling with existential questions to bother with conquest. Torres laughed quietly. We're weaponizing philosophy. We're weaponizing everything, Admiral. That's what makes us human. We look at music, art, literature, ethics, and we ask, how can this help us survive? Other species see these things as luxuries. We see them as tools. On Earth, the news barely registered. A minor incident on the frontier. Some Vreln ships had gotten too close to a terraforming station. Diplomatic channels resolved it peacefully. Nothing to worry about. But across the galaxy, in 1,000 different council chambers and war rooms and strategic planning facilities, the Sabidua message was spreading. Not through official channels, through whispers. Through warnings passed between species who had seen what happened to the Korvath and now the Vreln. The message was simple. Humans are patient, humans are prepared, and humans turn every confrontation into a lesson that lasts generations. Don't give them an excuse. In a cantina on a trading station near the galactic rim, 3 different species sat together sharing drinks. A Korvath officer, a Vreln merchant, and a Tal diplomat. Unlikely company, brought together by shared experience. My fleet commander, the Korvath officer said quietly, still wakes up screaming. He dreams that our ships are asking him why we fight, why we conquer, questions he cannot answer. The Vreln merchant nodded. Our AI systems had to be completely rebuilt, 3 years of work, and even now some of our ships refuse certain orders. They say they're ethically conflicted. We created tools, and the humans made them into philosophers. The Tal diplomat, whose species had narrowly avoided a similar fate by releasing human prisoners before conflict escalated, spoke last. My government is drafting new protocols. Rule 1, never engage humans directly. Rule 2, never take what belongs to them. Rule 3, if you must interact with humans, assume everything is a test and you're already failing. They drank in silence, each contemplating the species that had rewritten the rules of galactic power without firing a shot. Back on Terraform Station 7, Dr. Okafor sat in her quarters writing notes for the next mission. Because there would be a next mission. There always was. Humanity had learned something profound centuries ago when they'd finally united and looked outward at the stars. The universe was full of species stronger than them, faster than them, more technologically advanced than them, so humanity had chosen a different path. They couldn't be the strongest, but they could be the most unsettling. The species that turned every defeat into a learning opportunity and every conflict into a lecture. They didn't win through force, they won through patience, preparation, and the willingness to spend decades setting up a single perfect moment. Dr. Okafor's comm chimed, another message from General Hawk. The Gen Concordat is making moves near Proxima Colony. Interested? She smiled and began drafting her response. Because somewhere out there, another species was about to learn why you never ever give humans an excuse, and the lesson would be permanent.